Hey all, this is Justin again with another of these aLBoP shorts, still talking about troll tactics. This is the second one. Last time I talked about the lawyer, and this time is kind of the inverse of the lawyer. I call this one the bolder. That's B-O-L-D-E-R. I'll explain why in a minute. But this one, whereas the lawyer zooms in specifically to take one thing out of context to change the meaning because you don't want to address what the person was really saying, the bolder is kind of the opposite. Because you're threatened by what someone's actually saying, you don't want to address what it really is, you're taking something from totally out in left field to totally distract, I guess, that has nothing to do with anything to try to make it look like the point was invalid. For instance, suppose someone says something that I don't like, I don't have any response to it, it makes me uncomfortable, I'm not going to be reasonable because reason won't help me here. I don't have any response to it. So instead I lash out and say, well, I'm sorry, I can't take anything you say seriously as long as you're wearing Reeboks. What does that have to do with anything? Totally unrelated, totally unrelated. The lawyer zooms in as something takes out of context. The bolder takes something totally out of context as if it has anything to do with anything. And people do this all the time in order, and you see it all the time. I talked about religion and politics last time because those are two subjects where people get very emotional. But anytime people get emotional, you're going to see all kinds of troll tactics, and you see this one a lot. Where, like, what does that have to do with anything? A person's choice in shoes. But you see people saying, "I'm sorry." They're not addressing the point. They're not refuting anything. They're not being reasonable. They're not working through anything, trying to find out what's really real and true. No, just saying, well, I don't have to listen to you because of this thing that has nothing to do with anything. Now, I call this one the bolder because a lot of you probably noticed there's a lot of bold type on a little bit of personality. And that may or may not be a good decision. I don't know. That's not the point here. Because, well, we're not quite remember, but Khalees thinks it may have been my decision, my suggestion to have a lot of bolding on there. She says she didn't even want to do it at first. It's a lot of extra work to go through those articles and decide what things to emphasize in bold. The idea was to make it so it's not just a solid block of text. So it breaks up, makes it more readable, and it seems like it has been more readable for some people at least. And if any of you, now there have been some people who have complained about it, and if any of you think I'm talking about you, don't worry, we've seen this from a few different sources. Does that mean they're right? I don't know if they're the majority or not at all. It's worth thinking about, worth us thinking about. But some people have complained that the formatting gets in the way. The thing that makes some of these people, not all of them, but some of these people a little less credible is they complain in a very lashing out way, saying, I don't need to listen to anything this blog says because, oh, the formatting made it impossible to read. Now, perhaps it would be better to get rid of the bolding, perhaps not. It's worth considering, but does it have anything to do with the content on the page? So again, the bolder, taking something that's nothing to do with anything. So and quite frankly, my suspicion is that I suggested bolding, and Khalees did a lot of bolding because she wanted to emphasize a lot of things. This is Khalees. She does this. She has fun with things. So my suspicion is that that's what makes some people uncomfortable. Just the way Khalees just has fun with things. And quite frankly, a lot of people, some people I'm remembering who did really freak out about the bolding on some forums and such, proceeded then to mock and tear apart Khalees for having fun with pop culture examples and stuff. So it's a possibility. The point is, whatever their motivation was, they brought in something totally unrelated, formatting, to say that the content of the blog and the post, they could throw out the entire blog. This entire blog is garbage. Now, I'm not saying nothing wrong with aLBoP. Nothing that I know of. We'll talk about that more in other videos. But I'm not saying there's nothing wrong there. I'm saying talking about the formatting doesn't show whether there's anything right or wrong on the blog. Totally out of left field, nothing to do with anything, the bolder, a tactic. Or another one, I know I talked about Harry Potter in the last one, but this one really happened, where someone was apparently threatened by some of the themes in Harry Potter, and it seemed very clear this person was threatened by some of the principles and themes that Harry Potter brought up and suggested. And so instead of saying, well, here's why I think that theme isn't actually quite accurate, or why it doesn't apply to me, or whatever, they said, she uses too many adverbs. Okay, maybe she does. I personally don't think so, but suppose she did. Why does her choice in how many words to end in ly, how many times she uses descriptive adverbs, what does that have anything to do with the themes of the story? What does that have anything to do with the worth of the story? So anyway, the bolder. I'm not saying J.K. Rowling doesn't use too many adverbs. I don't know. But I'm saying it has nothing to do with the subject at hand. When people bring in something that is totally unrelated to try to make it look like it has something to do with the subject at hand. I'm sorry, I don't like your hair. I don't have to listen to anything you say. People actually do that a lot. Personal attacks, or in any case, an attack about something unrelated in order to draw attention from the thing that threatens them, the actual topic at hand. So yeah, there's the boulder. Hope it's of use to you. Again, like I say, these aren't going to stop people from using them, but they'll stop you from being confused and distracted by them. Okay, so on to more troll tactics. Some of these are kind of fun. All right, see you next time.